Hello, this is Dr. Kathy Smith, and I'm here from Vision International University. And we're going to be discussing creating a vision for a pastoral care ministry team for your specific church to meet the needs of your church body. Because you see, the needs of your church body are going to differ a little from the needs of the church across the street or even the church on the other side of the city. When I became involved in pastoral care ministry, we found that we had some unique challenges that we needed to deal with in regards to the members of our particular congregation, because there was a large percentage of elderly that were attending our services. And due to that fact, we found that some of them would eventually become homebound, and those shut-ins became very lonely because they were no longer able to attend church on a regular basis, at least not in person. And that compromised their connection to the church and their ability to socialize with the rest of the church members. In addition, we found that we had a large number of widows and widowers, that some of them were really struggling with learning how to adjust to life without their loved ones. And then when you take into account the age bracket that we're talking about, there would be frequent hospitalizations that would require pastoral visits to go in and provide the spiritual and the emotional care that they needed. And this put an incredible burden on the pastor for his time and his energy, and making it more difficult for him to find time to spend time in prayer and studying and preparing his messages. In addition, he had administrative duties to take care of, and he had a personal family to take care of as well. You see, pastors that try to do it all by themselves often become burnt out. And burnt out pastors will eventually find that they are compromising their relationship with their spouse, their family. They may find that their own effectiveness of their ministry diminishes, and they may even find that it affects their personal relationship with the Lord. Now you see, this is exactly where the 12 disciples found themselves when you open up Acts chapter 6. They were busy trying to do it all. They were providing for food for the widows, and they were overseeing the administration of the distribution of that food. And they were also trying to study and pray, and eventually they started getting complaints that some of the widows weren't being treated fairly. And so as a result, they realized that they couldn't continue doing it all. And so they looked amongst themselves, and they found 7 that they found were more mature, spiritually wise, that they could trust to start overseeing the distribution of the food. And they went ahead and delegated those 7 men the authority to take care of that portion of the ministry so they could devote more time to study and prayer. And then you can also see an excellent example in Moses and his father-in-law Jethro, having a discussion about all the time he was spending judging the matters of the people when they were arguing. You see, he brought all these thousands of people out of Egypt, and then here he had these people bickering and complaining amongst themselves, and he was trying to listen to their disputes and find conflict resolution to resolve all this conflict. And Jethro said to him, "You can't continue doing all this by yourself. You're going to wear yourself out." And so this is when they decided that they would come up with a plan where they would find others, just like the apostles did. They found others that they could give the authority to start hearing some of these cases, and they would only bring the most difficult ones to Moses, relieving him of some of the responsibilities that he was trying to shoulder all by himself. So you see, they had a needs-oriented resolution. What was the resolution? Delegation. They delegated authority to others that they could trust to assume some of the responsibility so that they didn't have to do it all themselves. And that's just my point. The Lord never expected senior pastors to do it all on their own. Because you find in Ephesians 4, the responsibility of the pastor is to equip and prepare the members of the body to do the work of the ministry. They're to use their gifts and their talents to meet the needs of the individual brothers and sisters in the body of Christ. And so from that, we want to begin to develop a pastoral care model on that same basis, where we determine who in the body of Christ and our specific bodies that we can trust, and begin training and equipping them to do part of that ministry so that we can simply oversee that and not have to do it all by ourselves. You know, every single church is going to find that they have different unique needs. But in spite of that, we should have one primary goal that fits all across the spectrum of churches, and that is providing the optimal care that we can to our church members, providing them spiritual, emotional, sometimes physical support as they're in need of it. So as we move forward, I think that we should, first of all, start thinking about what are the needs of your church. Do a quick assessment in your head. What are the pastoral visitation needs and other pastoral care duties that you have? Make a list of all those responsibilities. Do you have a lot of singles in your church that perhaps you need to develop a singles group to help support all of those single parents? Or perhaps you have a lot of elderly like we had that you need to come up with a plan that will provide for their needs. Or do you have a lot of new believers that need a lot of discipleship? Make a list and then start setting some goals that you would like to see your pastoral care ministry attain. Now, we have touched on many different concepts in this first video, but we will go into more detail in the next video. But let's just summarize real quick some of the things that we talked about. We talked about creating a vision for your pastoral care ministry, and it begins with assessing the needs of your church body and your community, then determining what ministry elements you want to include in the pastoral care ministry. What do you want to delegate to others to do? Then set up the goals that you would like to see met for optimal care of your people. Then determine what people that you could rely on to be a part of this team. Then the next step, you would start providing training to those people and establishing guidelines for the care that they're going to supply. Then you develop a follow-up plan. What do you do after you've done the visitation? What communication needs to be made to the pastor or the director of pastoral care so that if there are additional needs that need to be met, they can be aware of those things and start putting a plan together to help meet the needs on an extended basis. So we've covered a lot of things. We're going to talk about a lot of other things in the next video. So thank you, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks.